Hey everyone, we're 6 games into the spring regular season, and some of the results have not been what we expected. Some teams higher in the table than we might have guessed, some teams a lot lower, and I want to talk about one of those. Evil Geniuses, 2-6 so far, and despite reaching the finals of the lock-in tournament, it's been said that the EG hype is so far looking like a mirage. So let's talk about why they're not performing up to expectations so far. What is actually wrong with EG. They're on a 3-game loss streak, having lost 100 Thieves, Team Liquid, Immortals. They have picked up a couple wins here and there, and there have been some good moments, but what is not working for them, and what do they have to fix to get things back on track? And I think the first thing you need to look at as a team is that their early game just is not working. If you want to put it into numbers, they've only picked up 17% of the Rift Heralds so far. They've only picked up first turret in 1 out of 6 games. They've only taken 3.8 turret plates per game, which is 9th in the LCS, only ahead of Cloud9. And their early game rating is only a 41.2, so they're hitting the 15-minute mark with only about a 40% probability of winning the game from that point. And for a team that has as much skill and talent as they have, and that has a reputation and a coaching staff that seems to push kind of that aggressive, control-oriented Rift Heralds, turrets, snowball and rotate, that kind of style, this really doesn't add up to what you'd expect or what you'd want them to be doing. Part of this comes from Inspired being, fairly inactive or underactive on the map early on. And this has always been kind of his style, and he had this criticism in the LEC that he just plays very standard paths, he farms himself up, he covers where he needs to cover, and then, comes online in the team fights later and does most of his work there. And that's fine on a lot of champions. So far, he's exclusively played Jarvan IV, Xin Zhao, Olaf, and that champion pool needs to do, I think, a lot more pressuring, if not a lot more ganking, and be a lot more proactive and generate some of that more momentum into the Rift Heralds and the turret plates and so on. I think we've seen issues from Vulcan with a lot of overplaying. He is a big playmaker, and he's been showing, his trigger pull, but sometimes he's trying a bit too hard. Sometimes he's trying to create a play out of nothing, or when the team isn't quite ready, and some of his early skirmishing has been problematic. So he needs to clean up some of those things as well. Impact has been inconsistent. He's had good games, but he's also been, I think, on the wrong side of a lot of plays certain times. I've noticed that he's showing this tendency to try to extend plays that didn't need to be extended. So a play has developed, something has happened, and then he goes, I can get this one next thing. Whether they've won the fight and he's trying to add an extra kill on that'll turn into something else, or, it didn't quite work out, but he thinks, but if I just do this, now I'm going to save the play. And he's kind of getting caught trying for that when it wasn't really needed, when what was needed was to kind of back off and reset for the next phase of the game. He's getting caught a little bit in lazy ways. It seems like he's not fully focused the way he might be, if the stakes were a little higher, honestly, and if it wasn't so early in the regular season, which is putting an excuse in his mouth for him, but it's been a bit of a problem. And of course, JOJO Piano's making rookie mistakes because he's a rookie. He's had some really dumb TPs that have been called out. He's stepping up a little bit too far in team fight, kind of in the footsies phase of a team fight. He got caught as Corki out in the Immortals game. I think it's interesting to follow the conversation around him. And of course, I've hyped him a lot. So a lot of that conversation ends up tagging me into it one way or another. But I think he debuted so well in the lock-in tournament, in the group phase of it, all the way up to the finals, that it kind of feels like the community has decided he's waived his right to play the rookie card. Like, he can no longer say, he's just figuring things out. It's just the start of his career in the LCS. He'll get there. But he came out. He looked like arguably, the best mid laner in lock-in, if not top 2. And suddenly he gets, full credit and full criticism for everything. But he's still 17 years old. He still only played 12 lock-in games and now 6 LCS games. He has a lot of learning and experience to gain. So, not to downplay that he's making these mistakes, because he very much is, but they are very cleanly classified as he's making rookie mistakes. And that is a problem, and it's part of why EG have been losing some games. So some things they need to change, and I think one of them that's really interesting that I haven't highlighted is It's not as clear whether it's a specific problem, but it seems like it might be. In their drafts, they have actually been blind picking a ton. I was looking at their drafts, and of course I have this feature that I built in Oracle's Elixir where you can pretty cleanly scroll through a team's drafts and see, you can turn on kind of the ability to view the blind picks highlighted. And I was trying to figure out which roles is EG blind picking most, or who are they giving their counter picks to, or saving their, giving draft resources to, basically saving it for late in the draft. And I just realized they're kind of blind picking everything. So I counted it up over the last 6 games. They've averaged 3.2 blind picks per draft. So, and of course, in any given draft, there are 5 picks that get picked without seeing the opponent and 5 that get responded to. Not factoring in flex picks. EG have had 1 draft with a flex pick where they had the Karma picked in first rotation and then flexed it into top with a late Leona. I believe it was late support regardless. But other teams have had some flexes as well. So if the average is going to be 2.5 blind picks per draft, EG are getting 3.2. I thought, I don't know for sure if this is, how unusual this is. So I went through the rest of the LCS. And 3.2 is the highest in the league, pretty noticeably. CLG have averaged 3 blind picks per draft. FlyQuest 2.8, Dignitas 2.7, Golden Guardians 2.5, TSM 2.3. And so we get into the teams that have been holding their picks a little bit more, matching roles earlier in the draft. Cloud9, 100 Thieves, and Immortals all have averaged 2.2 blinds per draft, and Team Liquid have only had to blind pick an average of 2 of their roles per draft. So why are EG's blind pick counts so high? It kind of suggests to me that in the last 3 weeks, they've been coming in with preset ideas and like firm plans that, hey, we're going to play this style of team composition or these key champions against this opponent. And they're not really responding to information as it comes out in the draft. They're not really pivoting. They're not really taking the opportunity to react and say, okay, how are we going to beat what they're doing? They're just coming in with their own plan. Now, that might be off base. There may be subtleties to these drafts that I haven't taken the time to kind of pick apart, but that does seem like there's something there. And when you scroll back through, the way they drafted and lock in, they didn't seem to blind pick to this same, high extent. So I don't know if it's just a philosophical thing in the first 3 weeks, but I think that's something they need to look at and they need to figure out. And I think with the amount of skill they have in their roster, probably they should be using that kind of information, that emerging information in the draft and pivoting a little bit more as they go through it. So some suggestions, of course, they workshopping those draft strategies a little bit. I mean, unless blind picks are secretly overpowered and I'm, just not on top of that, I think something does need to change there and they need to clean that up. I think the team needs to work on matching pace with each other. Sometimes people are playing a little bit too fast, like Vulcan, I think, has been playing too fast sometimes. Sometimes players are playing a bit too slow, which I think Inspired has been doing, and they need to kind of just get on the same page. Whether it's one person making calls and the whole team buying in or what it is, I think just more reps in scrims and more time in general will solve this as long as the coaches can kind of identify a direction. I'd like to see Evil Geniuses be more intentional about playing strategies that involve playing from the mid lane into the side lanes. JOJO Pion is great at generating priority in lane, unless you're picking him things like Corki, which, I don't know, maybe he wants to prove that he can play those things, and I think he is capable of it, but as a team, I think they're better served if he's able to be on something that can generate priority, win 2v2s, and then move into the side lanes and control the map aggressively that way. And yeah, draft for the mid and jungle matchups and be very intentional about using it. So those are a few thoughts that I think Evil Geniuses could run with, and that might make an improvement for them. I don't think, we're way too early in the year for there to be any real concern about this team, given that they've got such a fresh rookie in the mid lane, that they have still a lot of kind of stylistic things that they're figuring out, obviously, and that when there's anything in the draft that could potentially use some cleaning up, I think that covers over a lot of other issues that you start to identify that, and I do feel that execution is more important than draft, generally speaking, but you got to have strong drafting. And so going into this coming Super Week, which starts today, they're facing FlyQuest, Golden Guardians, and CLG. I think this is a pretty 3-0-able weekend. a good-looking 2-1 would be pretty acceptable as well. FlyQuest are looking quite strong. Golden Guardians have had some strong play. CLG beat Cloud9 recently, so, you could drop a game to one of these. If you do worse than 2-1, then now your first round robin is, I think, looking a lot more concerning as Evil Geniuses. So we'll talk about it after. We'll see how the Super Week goes, but I think a 3-0, if they clean these things up well, is very much within reach, and that'll, of course, change the whole narrative around EG again. And I think we'll be having a lot of changing narratives around EG as the year plays out. So those are my thoughts. I'm curious what yours are, and we'll see what EG think as they approach this Super Week coming up. Thanks for watching and supporting my content. I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, and check out the channel memberships if you want to get access to custom emojis, special roles in the Oracle's Elixir Discord, and other perks.